into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of the Tight Pants Society.
No fucking play is that a gimme, right?
Welcome into what will be a very, very, very interesting edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik. If you have flipped over from local Boston sports radio because you don't want to hear about the latest capitulator going to EEI, we have got you here today. Now, I have a funny feeling that my buddy Jason Anik, and I don't want to cuss too much, is going to try to fuck with me today, because there's a lot going on. It was a busy Patriots weekend. John Henry showed us all what he really thinks of us. Jason Anik, good morning. You look a little aggravated because of the chorus stuff. I'll just put it out there. I don't even know if it is.
So that could be part of it, but what I want you to know is, which I think will be a nice way to sort of get the tone going with my friend Andrew Gresh. So last night, right? I got home last night, 3:30 in the morning, because I was doing the English broadcast for Supernova Strikers Genesis on Netflix, right? So it was my first opportunity to do play-by-play, calling combat sports. So I know you're my friend and I know you care about me. So I figured that would make you a little bit happy today out of the gate. It was a really cool experience. Netflix took great care of us. I live in South Florida. I drove to a studio 45 minutes from my house. It was an incredible experience. A lot of room for improvement, obviously, but it was a fun night. And the whole broadcast was the first ever event that was produced in Mexico that was on Netflix. So the feed was the whole feed from we were never on camera. And a lot of it was mixing in with sort of the Spanish broadcast, but it was a pretty cool night. But yeah, so if I look a little disheveled, haven't slept much.
No, you're good, brother. You look great. I had to shave for a reason that'll be undisclosed. So I am not thrilled with not having the big bushy beard.
You know, and I know we have a lot of Boston sports, but I just had to sort of let you know that, you know, I get off the air and I'm like, I didn't even know the Celtics and Bruins were playing, if you want to know the truth, right? Yeah. There was so much preparation that went into that for me. And I get off and I see the fucking Boston Celtics. I can't wait to talk about the fucking Boston Celtics. But anyway, Gresh, wherever you want to begin, I'm fine. I have so many things I want to hear out of your mouth.
Let's start with the big story of the day, and that is that Alex Cora was, as they try to politely say, relieved of his duties as manager of the Boston Red Sox over the weekend. And Jay, it wasn't just Cora. It was Cora, Veritek, coaches. There's a photo that Alex Cora put on Instagram of, I think it was like him and his like 6 guys. They were getting on a PJ to fly back home from Baltimore. I think the Red Sox, they pulled a Vrabel. You know, when Vrabel did the whole, there's nothing to see here, the Red Sox did the whole, well, we're going to reassign Tech. Well, apparently Tech told them to piss off.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be reassigned.
Take my rings elsewhere.
Well, you know what it is, Jay, is that the real story is Craig Breslow won the power battle, and they blew everybody out. And let's start, before I start going off on John Henry, I want some thoughts on that from you. And there's the photo of Cora and the coaches. Now, there have been some people on local sports talk radio in Boston who are laughing at Alex Cora saying he's happy. That guy is getting at least a $10 million check to go back to Puerto Rico and hang for the summer. Do you think he is really that devastated? And this team sucked. The organization behind the scenes is a mess, and now Breslow gets to run it. And Cora will probably double dip and do TV this year. And then, I think what's going to happen is he waits for all those Red Sox checks to clear, maybe does TV for 2 years, then considers getting back in. Or Cora tries to be a general manager. He has told me and Christian Fourier when we did our show in Boston, the one thing he is interested in is pulling a Brad Stevens and maybe being a GM.
Wow. I love that comparison. There's so much to unpack here. I think he's going to manage the Yankees to their next championship next season because I think Boone's a joke, and the Yankees haven't won a championship in 17 years. That's a starving fan base. So certainly Yankees have a great chance to do it now. They have a great baseball team. But, Alex Cora was not the problem. And you said weeks ago, Gresh, that you thought Alex Cora was going to be the first to go. You've been anyone who hasn't tuned into this show, my friend Gresh is simply just tapped in. Like you knew Cora was going to be fired. I couldn't believe it because you and I both know he is the furthest thing from the problem. You talked about this lineup at the beginning of the season, and it never was going to be good enough. I wish Chad Tracy all the best of luck. And dare I say, as I sit here on April 27th, 2026, I feel like I, as a fan, would you consider yourself a fan? Quick yes or no question. Like you're a Red Sox fan in general.
Well,
like,
yes,
as a fan.
Now. Because I you know how you can tell I'm still a fan because I'm pissed at John Henry.
Right.
I mean,
well,
and go ahead.
No, I mean, so I guess Breslow was. I'm glad Breslow pulled out his dick here. I mean, it's such a joke. It's so embarrassing, And Trevor Story wasn't happy about it. I would like to get to sort of moving out of this because ultimately, the only thing that I think is good, the only thing Breslow said that sort of resonated with me is the fresh start, 135 games left. I'm not suggesting that in any way I want Cora gone. What brought us a championship in 2018. But if it was, this could provide a little juice. Roman Anthony, like Chad Tracy could be a great manager too, but it very much upsets you and I because we love Alex Cora for good reason.
Yeah, and he is not the problem, as you said. And look, the Red Sox are 11-17. They're 7 games out of first. So I think they haven't waved the white flag, but what they've done is said, well, we're going to put someone in there who willingly will accept some of the losses so that we can grow as a baseball team.
Great point. Cora, hate to hear you say it.
Alex Cora wanted to win too much. And now it's going to be, now the dude will be in there who will listen to Breslow. By the way, I love the show Kill Tony. If you've ever seen the comedian Aaron Belisle, he's a mute comedian. He's really, really funny. Looks almost exactly like Craig Breslow. And that's all I could think of when I saw that press conference was, Robot Breslow was going to start speaking at some point in a true robot voice like the comedian Aaron Belisle. But, Jay, this is really what is they're just saying, fuck it. If we're going to lose, then we'll put someone in there who is willing to develop these kids who the Red Sox all invest in. Oh, and by the way,
can we get the Mookie Betts shit off the screen? You're trying to make me more upset. I got Mookie Betts up. I love you, Cody.
And by the way, all those early contracts they signed that everybody was jacking off over. Oh, we're going to save money with Christian Campbell and blah, blah, blah. Those guys are doing fuck all of nothing independent of Alex Cora. So hopefully the contract makes people, it's going to be great that they're going to be paying maybe somebody $20 million who just absolutely sucks balls. But we rubbed peanut butter on our nipples at the time because it was awesome to go sign a young guy out of years of free agency. Get the F out of here.
Well, and what do you think Garrett Crochet's thinking today about the direction of his franchise? I mean, probably not much different than he was thinking at the beginning of the season when he looked at the bats behind him. Agreed. With respect, I like a lot of the guys in the lineup, but to your point, to compete in this league, you're in Major League Baseball, no salary cap, well documented. You can do it and you won't do it. And it's not like the Red Sox fans are a bunch of dumb folks saying, sell the team. I just hope it really happens. John Henry, for him not to give a fuck, is a real hard bullet to take. So I'm glad Jason Varitek's not going to be managing this team. I will say, I didn't want him to be the next guy, whether Chad Tracy's long-term or not, to be determined.
Jay, people have forgotten that at one point in time, when all of the Betts stuff was going on, John Henry sat in front of a microphone. One of the last times he did as the owner of the Red Sox, right? It's like 10, 12 years ago now. And he looked into the microphone and said, well, maybe I'm not the right guy to own the team. And then he shut it down. Let me tell you what was the best and the worst thing that happened to John Henry, okay? The best thing that happened to John Henry was that he walked into one of those winter weekends where everybody rubs themselves up with the Red Sox peanut butter out at the MGM Springfield or something like that, and they bring out, here's Wee Willie Keeler and all these guys from like the 50s, and these just olds go in there, and John Henry got booed there. And that was the best thing to me that happened to him, because it made him realize that even though he has won championships here, he is not regarded like Robert Kraft. Now, the bad part about it is that John Henry essentially went into hiding. Now it's, I don't want to say anything wrong. He can't handle the heat of being an owner in Boston. So he just doesn't do part of the job, which is communicating with the people who ultimately fill his ballpark and allow him to have a shit team and still draw 2.5 million people, because they try to turn Fenway into really an amusement park when it's all said and done. Hey, if you're coming from Germany, go to the great Fenway Park to see a baseball game. And there's a bunch of those people mixed in with the 2.5 million. But Jay, for every person that buys a ticket to the Red Sox, John Henry told you, by not being there to be accountable on a move like this, that you don't matter. According to the owner, by his absence in these press conferences, he is telling you that he does not think you, the paying fans, are worthy of his explanation. That's how this fucking guy looks down on everybody right now.
Well, yeah, it's one of his businesses, and just, it's so emotional to do it like right after you get swept by the Yankees. It's like, it's a fucking clown show. And I'm less apt to check box scores, right? I don't watch all 162 like I did in my 20s, but I'm far less apt to follow this team. And when I said earlier that I'm sort of where I'm at with my fandom, where you're at, when every time we bring up the Red Sox all off season, Gresh, because you knew what was coming. And so you didn't emotionally invest the way I did in the 2026 season. There's no way.
Yeah, no, I thought there would be disaster. I hated the Cora's gone. Chad Tracy might be really good. His dad was a big league manager, so he's got some people to be able to lean on. But what this really signals is it's now Craig Breslow's organization. And thank you. You said it way more nicely than me. So now it's Breslow's shop. Now he has, it's like he's a radio programmer in Boston. He has a great capitulator who's just going to say, hey, you know what, Chad, I came down to the dugout with a hard on. How about you? Come on, we're going to go into your office and you just drop trowel and take it. And then we can all get back out there. I mean, Cora was the one who would push back. There's a reason Roman Anthony hit third, is because the great capitulator in Chad Tracy is in there when Cora was batting that guy leadoff. So who knows? Maybe he'll take off in the third spot, or he'll just be the fourth disappointing Red Sox that they handed big contracts to in the offseason that people loved, who are absolutely filling the back of their pants.
Well, seeing Roman Anthony in the third slot is not going to upset me. But I will say, right, having a Monday show, right, and in Boston sports, this Monday in particular for Gas Morning Drive, as we approach, 60, 70 episodes, there couldn't be more to discuss in terms of all these teams, right, as we go through this, right? And you look at the end, our final topic today, Patriots Draft Recap. I understand the Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini stuff is not maybe that fresh. Well, it sure as fuck is fresh to me. And so I can't wait to get to that. I'm ready to move on to the fucking Bruins, because the last two topics are more fun for me, unless you have more on the baseball team from Boston.
No. I've crapped on them enough. You could see this coming, I felt, from a mile away. And now we'll see if there's any life in this baseball team. And, what do they now do with somebody like Trevor Story, who I think is in like the last year of his deal, who isn't happy? They benched him. That they're going to flip him because, again, he's not going along to get along. He looked at it more from a Cora perspective. So maybe Craig Breslow will be the great leader this team needs. No.
We will see. So, in terms of the hockey team from Boston, right? Just to rewind, and I don't maybe have my dates in order, but game 1, Sabres Bruins in this series. Sabres lead the series now 3-1. So game 1, the Sabres win 4-3, but the Bruins were up 2-0. And the Sabres were so dominant in that hockey game, it blew me away. Unless I was missing something, the Sabres were just so much better than the Bruins in game 1. I put a fucking bag on the Bruins for me in game 2. And then the Bruins, get out to that 4-0 lead. And I was telling you guys, like, what am I fucking missing? I don't think the Bruins are going to have another lead in this series. It looks like a college team versus a pro team. So I am so frustrated. I put all this money on the Bruins on the Sabres in game 2. And then they proved me right with no money on them in games 3 and 4. They win 6-1 in an embarrassing night in Boston last night. But the Bruins just aren't on their level, Gresh. Talk to me.
Yeah, I stay away from betting the Bruins. Too inconsistent. I tried to go with the Cavs in a big spot yesterday in a three-leg parlay with San Antonio and Boston, and of course they crapped themselves against Toronto. So you know what it does though? It made me mad that I lost the three-leg parlay. But it makes me happy because I now know the road to the finals is paved pretty easily for the Celtics. They just have to now handle business. But in terms of the Bruins, this is not a dynamic offensive team. This is not a group who is going to be able to, they get down early. It's going to be tough for them to come back. And when you see old Chuck McAvoy after the game saying, listen, everybody should be really embarrassed that, what happened in game 4 is exactly right. But again, Jay, I think for a lot of Bruins fans who, there's 20% hockey hardo that we all know, right? I could do a better job than Marco Sturm and get him to the second round. Yeah, that kind of shit, right? But I think for the overwhelming majority of Bruins fans, the fact that they're in the first round of the playoffs in and of itself is a success. Where were they? Minus 6,000 plus 6,000 or whatever it was to
even
to
when
go
they
to
get
a cup final.
So
a lot of people are really upset at what happened. Jay, I'm the other way. Let the flaws be exposed because the Bruins actually have some money to spend in the offseason. So let the issues come up so they can go address them and then try to be better next year. I think they got something here. I'm not devastated that they lost. It's the whole devastated at the way they lost. Come on, guys. You should be better than that. However, in the big picture, I think things are looking up to me, Jay, they're a year ahead of schedule, if not 2.
Well, I'm with you. And, you say you got to be better than that. They just aren't better than that you get into the playoffs, and it's different. But I will say the body of work that was the regular season is a really big building block. And part of the reason they're ahead of schedule, you put that on paper. I mean, a lot of potential, and your points are well taken. I think it's Marco Sturm seems to be a guys would maybe in free agency want to come play for. Boston is, despite what has happened with Mike Vrabel lately and the Boston Red Sox, Boston is still a big sports town. And so I think, the Bruins have been a very good stretch over the last decade, despite maybe not hoisting one.
Well, I think the other thing, too, is, to what length are the Jacobs willing to spend in free agency? And what I mean by that is, are you coming up with upfront cash for people? Are you structuring contracts in a way to where, Jay, there is the tug of coming to play in Boston, but you know what? You got to kind of pay the market rates. But what are the little things that they can do to try to hook some of these cats in? Is ownership really willing to kind of go the extra mile and do that? And, how does Don Sweeney sort of see this team moving forward? Does he think there are 4 or 5 guys that in a year or in a year and a half with some seasoning down in Providence could be able to come up and help? So I would love to see sort of how the Bruins look at a 4-year window after this year. Who do they have that's coming up? Where can they pluck people in free agency? You got Swayman already, so that's a good thing. I feel like for as much as at times the series been kind of shitty for the Bees, I'm much more bullish on the Bruins than I am the Red Sox right now long term.
You know, I know it's a hockey game, but I'm looking up the line right now. I mean, is Buffalo minus 1,000 in Game 5? I mean, geez, is there a play? I mean, it's so it is hockey, Gresh. So you tell me. So the Sabres are minus 160 in Game 5. What the fuck am I missing? So the Bruins are going to fucking rally and bring the series back to Boston because I go put another bag on it. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I kind of think so. Like I'm
right.
pulling
The
it
Bruins
up.
win Game 5. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like.
Let me see here. I'm just kind of
the Bruins win Game 5. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm going to go put a bag on the Sabres. Cody, you can chime in here. I'm going to go minus 160. What am I missing? That's not a big enough number. Boston going to go in and win the game because it's hockey.
It's funny. I just pulled it up and it's Sabres minus 170, but you're right. That's but the Bruins are plus 142 on the money line. And if you think, I was going to say, and if you think they're going to win, you know, there's probably some ways to. Yeah, that's the thing. I have no faith in this team. I play the under. I know I was on the under in Game 4, and I know I would have got porked, but I think everybody tightens up here a little bit, and you know we're looking at best 3-2 scores. But anyway,
so. The juxtaposition between the Boston Bruins and the Boston Celtics is just incredible. I was really focused on this Supernova boxing. And so I just wasn't on my brain. I was not thinking about Boston sports playoffs. I had plenty of time to check my phone. There were musical performances between each fight last night. It's quite a spectacle in Mexico City. 22,300 people in the building. I was not in the building. But anyway, I at like 3 a.m, I checked the score app on my phone and I see Boston just blew out. So did you watch the basketball game? I mean, talk to me and then.
Yeah, because I was hot that Cleveland porked my early parlay. I was all over the Chiefs. I know we're going to get to the draft, but I was all over the Chiefs drafting a corner.
Yes, you were.
And I had the right player, but I had him at the wrong slot. So I was.
Did that matter for you?
Well, no. Well, I had 250 on plus 300 for the Chiefs. And then I drafting a corner, so that won me $1,000. And then I had 250 on Delane going 9th, and they traded to 6, so I got porked on that one. That would have been another 1375.
Wow.
So where I screwed up was I should have gone drafted player, not the player that I knew they were going to take to the slot. So that was my fault. However, I wagered 500. I won 1,000, so I dumped the 500 back in. And then I took that 500 and put it on the Knicks in Game 4, right? Hit another 380 on that. And then I tried to hit the old 3-leg parlay yesterday, and Norma Dumont porked me with Aljo in a very late bet parlay on the UFC card. I should have just went Aljo straight up and listened to Cody Bone Marrow and his MMA musings on bananaland.com or whatever it is.
Fight Bananas?
Fight Bananas.
What a plug. Bananaland.com.
No, I knew that Cody would get a giggle about that, but I was all over this game, Jay. And I'll tell you why.
Yes, you were.
Because Embiid played. So I wanted to see if that would make a difference. And it didn't. Here's the thing. I gave you that stat at the beginning of the series. They call it like points per possession or whatever. With Embiid, Philly would have been 3rd in the league. Without Embiid, they were 29th in the league.
Wow.
So I thought, all right, Embiid's coming back. Here comes maybe an offensive performance. And no, Celtics were in control the whole time. They still had Embiid off balance. He doesn't look the same. Maxi's got that finger issue where he had that layup and the thing popped off his finger. I don't know if you saw that or you didn't because you were working. I don't know if he's got like a busted digit or like a stoved finger or something like that. But he had like this thing on his hand. He makes a layup, and as he's coming down, he hits his hand on the backboard, and you see the brace or whatever it is fly off like into the stands. They did a good job, NBC did, of actually showing it, but they have really no one else to turn to. Maxi's only going to be able to give you so much. Tatum has been great. Philly has no shot. And now with the way Cleveland is playing, and they're in a battle with Toronto, Atlanta and the Knicks are beating the hell out of each other. Jay, this is like chef's kiss when it comes to the perfect amount of time for the Celtics to be able to get ready for the second round.
Well, after game one last week, I said, wouldn't it be great if it could maybe be a short series? And then Philadelphia wins game two, and game three gives the Celtics everything they can handle. And then the superstar all NBA players, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, drafted back-to-back with the number 3 overall pick about a decade ago, just really do what they need down the stretch. And Tatum's post-game interview after game three, it was just so telling, and asked about some of the big moments and was just like, just been there before. Yeah, like you got a big ring at home and it just matters. Like, so nothing better than watching. I prefer a close game to a blowout if my team gets the W. Nothing better than watching a game like that on the road in the city of brotherly love, taking care of them like that in that tight game. And then last night blowing them out. You talk about Embiid on offense. I think he scored a quick 8, but if there's ever a player in Joel Embiid, it's like, oh, he loves the epidemic. You think he's doing every ounce of rehab to get himself in the best possible physical condition to get back. He's always battled all sorts of things. But I will say, and I'm fired up here, Maxey and Edgecombe, that backcourt, if you don't think that backcourt is going to cause some problems down the road, at some point, Boston going to find yourself in a series against that backcourt and whoever else they get. Paul George having some moments. The roster's good. I think Nurse is doing a good job. I think it's absolutely huge the way the Celtics were able to win that game last night, because I think it was going to be a very tough series potentially if it went back to Boston 2-2.
Yeah, and I think with Embiid, he had 26, 10, and 6, so the stat line looked good, but he finished with his second worst plus minus of the game. So Philly was outscored by 25 points in Embiid's 34 minutes. So, and who it was this time? Payton Pritchard. Let me give you this stat, okay? So I did ESPN Radio Saturday night, and they had the Nuggets Timberwolves on right before me and Andre Snellings went on for game night. And that Ayo Dosunmu ended up dropping 42 or 43. It was 43 points for Minnesota. It was the guy they got in a junk trade from the Bulls at the end of the year when they were doing their liquidation sale. Ant-Man got hurt. DiVincenzo got hurt. Ayo Dosunmu leads the NBA in playoff scoring Saturday night with 43. On Sunday, Payton Pritchard led the NBA in playoff scoring with 32. But that just goes to show the depth. And Pete, you know what? I thought it would have been the reverse. Jay, I thought to keep maybe like Porzingis or someone like that they would have got rid of Hauser, Pritchard, and others. Instead, it was the other way around. And those like Payton Pritchard, he's the modern day Vinnie Johnson. He's the microwave. He comes off the bench and he heats it up. Like, I love it. He's your bench scorer that you need. And the kid is talking trash. He's giving it to Reggie Miller a little bit. They're going back and forth. That's what we love about that little honky.
Oh, I'm so glad you went down the Payton Pritchard rabbit hole. You had no access to my notes, and you're going to like where I take this.
I love it.
6th man of the year last year, well documented, had some time as a starter, and one of the most incredible coaches in all of professional sports, Joe Mazzulla, not afraid to put him back on the bench where he most certainly belongs. But just some numbers on Payton Pritchard, right? We obviously know what Tatum and Brown bring to the table. So this season, Celtics record, when Payton Pritchard scores 20 points, 23-4. When he scores 25, 27-2. And when he scores 30, 11-0. So if Payton Pritchard goes off, just like if the Celtics shoot well from 3, this team is so difficult to beat, even if you were one of those juggernauts, OKC or San Antonio in the Western Conference. I don't want to fast forward too far ahead, but I would like to transition a little, to have a little conversation about the New York Knickerbockers a little bit, because, as much as I believe Boston is a superior team this year, losing to New York is my least favorite thing on planet Earth. So I don't want that to happen. But anyway.
The Knicks are in a battle to even make it to the second round. I mean, they got a real problem. Well, they did have a problem with CJ McCollum. Let's see if that continues in game 5. But, some of it is, are you switching or are you not? Like, that's where the Knicks are in a little bit of no man's land against Atlanta. Are you playing straight up or are you going to keep switching? And that's where McCollum was able to really eat in those first 3 games. Here's the thing, Jay. The Knicks are not what they were last year.
I know.
Tom Thibodeau had the ability to affect them defensively. And I think to get better effort and to put in effort on that end. I don't know if Mike Brown moves the needle that way. Now, I think the Knicks are pretty, for an NBA team, they're pretty decent on defense. They're, you got to play some to be able to be in the playoffs and survive in the playoffs. But I don't know if there's the extra gear there. I don't know if Mike Brown kind of has that Midas touch to be able to figure out how to deal with Tatum and Brown and everybody else. And again, I go back to the Knicks were built for the old Celtics. These are the new Celtics where there is no Porzingis. There is no extra all-star point guard that you have to worry about. And we'll see how they match up. I feel here's the other thing too, Jay, and I know I'm rambling. I don't think Jason Tatum lets him lose to the Knicks. I think for him, it is personal what happened last year, even though it was not a New York Knickerbocker who slashed his Achilles.
And I don't want to fast forward to that series. The Celtics still have business to handle, and they have been prone to lapses in the postseason where they go home and lose game 5, and then they come back again and win all 3 games in field. But, you don't take care of business at home in game 5, then things start to become Kevin Millar, don't let us get tonight. But, Joe Mazzulla wants to beat New York if the Celtics are fortunate enough to get there as bad as we do, right? I think he was wearing a sweatshirt one time. Someone asked him, what do you like? He's like, I like that it says Boston on it, or it was something, you know what I mean? He is a Boston guy. You referred earlier to sort of them keeping all the right pieces. Al Horford, Porzingis, Drew Holiday go out the door, but there's no way Derek White was getting out of the building. And Derek White can be sort of a streaky shooter, you know what I mean? But he made a huge offensive rebound tap out and that close game 3 that led to a big 3, which was a big point. And one thing that I just want to circle back to before I ask you a question on Payton Pritchard. My brother John, who was at game 1, Pritchard didn't have a great shooting game, whatever it is, but my brother couldn't talk enough about the dog in Payton Pritchard on that court. And yeah, he's not the most gifted defensive player, but nobody's worked harder on his handle. And he just, every ounce of effort, every play. And you referred to some of that stuff earlier. But my question for you, 2024 world champion Boston Celtics. How would you compare this team to that team? Because for my eyeballs, I'm looking at a better basketball team today.
Yeah, I think there are lots of things that are different, including the Celtics. I think the opponents are different clearly than they were in 2024. So, it's hard to go apples to apples. Now, the 24 team was way more talented. And even if you just had JT, JB, and Porky Porzingis healthy, you probably had enough of a big 3 there to be able to beat a lot of people. It's now more on Tatum and Brown. And maybe on the first one, hey, we had a lot of people who were here to help. Now maybe on the second one, hopefully a second title for JB and JT, that it's now rightfully a little more on them. And both of them have played in this series. Oh, it's my time to step up. Oh, it's my time to step up. I think they both done a fantastic job. And, you see those guys running. There's now expectation with them. And not that there wasn't before, Jay, but I think they now, hey, we put in the work. We're going to win this first round series. It's no longer the Celtics going to get out of the first round and maybe go on a run. Now there is the expectation of, hey, their hand is stamped. They know what they're doing, and you can feel confident that they know how to handle the spot in the situation. Hey, let me tell you, Ime Udoka would kill to have Derek White on his roster, given what he said after game 3, where he threw, Reed Shepard, I think it was, the draft pick, right under the bus. Ime unked his team, and they ended up winning last night, and it's the gentleman's sweep, 3-0. They avoid elimination. They're going to get run next time out probably. But, man,
maybe parlay them with the Sabres.
You don't – that's true. We have our low-score golf parlay at the end of the show today. So some stuff to consider there.
One real quick thing on eBay, right? So he went and made them watch the end of that game in the locker room right after. So just a couple things though and I understand your point about different opponents. That's well taken, but I just think it's a deeper basketball team. I mean, Vucevic is a a big piece, right? And everyone kept talking about just wait till you see him play with Jason Tatum. And, Vucevic, if you're going to knock those shots down, it's going to be really difficult. And Tatum and Brown, they are on another level collectively. Cannot say enough about Jason Tatum. We've talked about it ad nauseum. No trouble slotting right back in. And gosh, I mean, dare I say he looks better than ever. It's unbelievable.
Well,
man.
if Vucevic is Timu Porzingis, and Nemise Quetta is Timu Luke Cornett.
Right, and Garza's in the mix. I mean,
not that Garza would be your Al Horford or anything like that, but
right. But
you
at
least have 3 rotational guys who Vucevic doesn't have to do it all, but like you said, knock down a couple of shots, give me 11 points along the way. That's the kind of contribution that I think this team needs. Now, the one thing they do need is Derek White to shoot consistently. And I think we're now elevating him a little bit and saying, okay, you have to be a consistent offensive producer as well. Pritchard, I don't worry about. With him, it's just more, will he find the right opportunities to be able to go off, given the way other teams are going to play him, because they have to respect his ability to shoot the 3.
Great stuff there all around. So before we move on to football, right, I just want to talk about Marcus Smart for a minute, because you even see Robert Williams on the Portland Trailblazers, old Celtic friends, making an impact. So Marcus fucking playoff Smart. I just got to talk about this dude because, he was Boston. He bleeds Boston. He was not a world champion Boston Celtic, right? It reminds me of guys like Wes Welker, Logan Mankins, who didn't win rings with the Patriots. But all right, so Marcus Smart in the playoffs. I just want to go through. For those who didn't see in game 3, Houston was up 6 with 30 seconds to go. Marcus Smart steals it in the backfield, gets fouled shooting a 3, knocks in all 3 free throws, and then the Lakers obviously win that game. But so he didn't have a great night last night, but his last 3 games leading in, it's like 15, 25, 21 were his scoring totals, assists 8, 7, and 10, shooting well from 3, getting to the free throw line. I mean, I'm so happy for Marcus Smart. And if the Lakers were to find a way out of the West, and Boston were to find its way out of the East, stranger things have happened if Luka can come back. If Luka and Austin Reeves come back, they got a shot. I do have a lot of Lakers action at 40-1, 35-1. It's probably still a big long shot. I lost.
Yeah, no, but the fact that they're getting through a round and LeBron has looked the way he has, now the problem is they're going to get OKC. So like that's where it kind of ends.
But does Luka come back soon?
It doesn't matter. They could have Magic and James Worthy come out with Luka. Oklahoma City is still beating the Lakers.
How's Lou Williams' health?
Oh, he's got a hammy and he gets to sit down. But I mean, they don't have him, but they're only going to sweep. So I mean, it's not like they lost SGA. You know what I mean? I don't want to burst your bubble on the Lakers, but I think
I want them to lose. I want them to lose.
Them winning in the first round to me is a shocker. Now, here's because I was doing ESPN radio and they had that game, and you find out at tip-off that there's no Kevin Durant. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Houston really sat on it in a lot of ways because I think the series price would have changed. I think a lot of the props with LeBron would have changed. And instead you find out that there's, that they don't have Durant. And, Van Fleet's been down for a while, but still you have Durant. You at least got a chance. He's a world-class player. Yep. And, it's really crazy to think that people will romanticize, can LeBron pull it off against an overwhelming number 1 seed favorite in Oklahoma City? The story will become about LeBron. And Jay, one other thing. Is LeBron done as a Laker?
Well, I think a lot depends on...
That story is flying under the radar that I don't think the guy's going to up and retire, but he could. He's 42, and he's tearing it up. He could ride off into the sunset, or he's going to Brady it and play till he's 45, and I think it's the latter. The question is, with who? A lot of people in Cleveland think he's coming home. A lot of people.
I would love to see that. I did not love the trajectory of LeBron James' free agency whirlwind career, but every time he goes to Cleveland, it makes me happy. We're talking NBA real quickly. Minnesota up 3-1 on Denver. A lot of smart people love the Denver Nuggets to make it out of the West. I never did. I'm not saying they're out in this series, but obviously with the injuries for Minnesota, Denver could climb back.
Yeah, that's a tricky spot for Denver because to me, you lose this series and Ant-Man was out for the second half of that game 4 or whatever. If you're Denver, you might be looking in the mirror and being like, gee, we changed the head coach last year, but maybe we need to tweak the roster a little bit. The other thing too, Jay, is Jokic has not been himself from 3. So I do wonder if there is maybe hiding an injury going on there with Jokic a little bit. Like his numbers, kind of like Embiid, the numbers were good, but when you really dig deeper, if you watch with a trained eye, you're like, man, that cat don't look right. And I mean, Jokic has been good, but he hasn't been otherworldly. And I feel like with the way Denver's built, he's got to be otherworldly more often than not for them to win series.
Quick question for you. I think it's kind of bullshit that if Orlando beats Detroit, the Celtics would still face the Knicks. I like how the NFL does it in terms of lowest available seed. I feel as though you earn that right. I don't mind a bracket, but think about it. It's like a fucking tournament bracket. You know what I mean? Like you absolutely should be rewarded for your regular season body of work in 82 games throughout the postseason. I think you agree with me.
Yeah, I have no issue with the reseeding. I hate the play-in. I mean, all these crappy. Let's give a 10th place team who's under 500 an opportunity to get into the playoffs. It's like, come on, But I know why they're doing it because the networks think it works, or some of the tournaments and other sports have worked, and that's why they want to do it.
But don't you agree that if Orlando, as the 8th seed, wins, that should be Boston's opponent? If Boston wins, and that New York should face the 4 or 5 seed? I mean,
they should reseed. Yeah.
100%.
No, I totally agree. But you know what? We're de-incentivizing every year being good in the regular season. I mean, we really are.
That's a great point.
It's only 65 games to still be eligible for an award. There isn't a reseeding, okay. And the Knicks won that in-season cup. What did that mean? I mean, until somebody mentioned it to me the other day, I forgot they even won the damn thing.
Well, don't forget, the Lakers won't make you forget it. They hung a banner back in the day. I think it's since been taken down. Boston doesn't put up those types of banners. And I don't think Boston much cares about those in-season. I don't think they have not been live in those tournaments. All right, let's move on to the pigskin here. So I know we're going to talk about the draft. But you know what, man? If I'm being honest with you, the goddamn head coach wasn't at the fucking draft on Saturday and not in touch with the fucking football team. And while I believe in what Elliott Wolf and everybody else was doing, anybody who wants to say this is not affecting what's going on in the building, you're crazy. Your boy Albert Breer talked about he hasn't been himself in the building. So we could talk about the Rossini Vrabel stuff all the way, but like as revered as Mike Vrabel is and as smart as he is, I mean, smart people do a lot of dumb things. That is hilarious. Where do you want to go? I want to talk a little bit about the head coach because as a Patriots fan, I've gone from to like this kind of sucks.
Well, I don't think it was I don't think from the actual draft standpoint, Vrabel not being there on the third day is not a massive deal because look at what they ended up doing. And Jay, here's another.
That's to be determined. It's more about the head fucking coach.
Here's the other thing about the draft. Rounds 4 through 7 now have been completely devalued because of NIL. If you look at how the way teams operated last year, it was the 6th and the 7th round that was really affected. Now that more and more teams have NIL money, those kids who might have come out as juniors who maybe needed another year of seasoning are now being paid to stay in college football. So 4 through 7, in the minds of a lot of people in the NFL, it was, well, it's been devalued. So it's not that people were like, nah, the hell with it, but they were not as invested in moving around the board, every team, as they were in those first 3 rounds. Now, look, Vrabel's trying to do something very tricky. He's trying to thread the needle of balancing the work life while also trying to now listen to his family, or maybe more importantly, his wife. Because clearly she's the one who says, yeah, we're going to counseling, and we're going to go on Saturday. And even though you have work, you're going to prove to me what you're going to try to prove to me. And the organization was okay with that. There were a lot of people who were like, all right, can't have therapy on a Sunday. Vrabel has lost his ability to control any of that, at least for right now, as he's in trying to save it mode. He is in zero jeopardy of losing his job. He is in zero jeopardy of being punished by the NFL. He is in zero jeopardy of losing the players. And let me make a bit of a point here. So when Mike Vrabel gave his first press conference, he came out and said, hey, I'm sorry I haven't talked to y'all. I wanted to talk to the players first. Even if the players think that there's some bullshit in what he is saying, the fact that he waited to talk to his football team before he talked to the media sent the message in the room about trying to still care about them. And that's where he's leaning on the relationships of the players on the roster to not be like, nah, this guy's full of crap or whatever. Now, from what I've heard in the building, the players were incredibly receptive to him waiting. And a lot of the veteran players, and maybe even 1 or 2 who he dealt with during the season, if you just do some forensics, you can figure out who I'm talking about, who might have had some issues that Vrabel had to handle. Now the reciprocity is coming back from the players in that they're still showing up to OTAs. No one has MF'd him publicly. No one has talked about this situation. No one's thrown any shit out on social media or anything like that. So he has not lost craft, and he has not lost the players. So at this point, it's how is Mike Vrabel going to thread the needle of trying to balance both? But from what I heard from the people on the inside, the players were very receptive to what he told them.
Well, that was a lot to react to there. But what I will say is vibes were really fucking high in the building last year. And Mike Vrabel brings a very special energy and changes the room. And that beautiful new draft room, he wasn't fucking there on Saturday. Karma, camaraderie, fucking chemistry. It's hard enough to get to a Super Bowl, let alone win it. It was going to be hard enough them going back in this gauntlet that's an AFC, in my opinion. So to make any type of run, this to me is not just like a little fly in the ointment. Maybe to you it is. It'll be up to Mike Vrabel, in my opinion, to get this team, which has a far greater challenge this season in this conference, to get to where they need to go and improve and get much, much better to compete with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, who are all going to lead their teams back. For me, it's just, and what about your boy, Burt Breer, who acknowledged that it's been different in the building? You think that blows over, I assume?
Oh, yeah, because look, Vrabel has been humbled. There's no question. Some of the je ne sais quoi that you kind of mentioned that he sort of operates with, yeah, he's gonna take a hit of humility. There's no question. And Vrabel in the building will have to rebuild some relationships, I think more maybe with the female staffers than anything else. Look, I said this the other day, and I really believe it. It took us 9 years, in my opinion, right? It took us about 9 years to separate Bill Belichick, world-class football coach, from Bill Belichick might be kind of a bad guy or a scumbag, right? It took Mike Vrabel 1 off season, but you know what we did? But you know what we did, Jay? You know what we did? We separated the two because Bill Belichick was really, 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 really good at his job, just like Mike Vrabel. So now, so for everybody who wants to be, oh my God, Vrabel needs to do this and apologize or whatever. No, handle your family, keep talking to the football team, and just go do your job. Because you know what? Bill Belichick did that through all different kinds of scandals, and people just said, well, maybe as a human being, he might be pretty shitty, but as a football coach, he's one of one. I don't know if Vrabel's one of one, but you know what I'm saying? I can go back to my mind where I separated the old football coach from the person to the coach. And that's now where we're at in Vrabel in just one short year, sadly.
I love hearing.
Because you wanted to believe that he was who he showed he was.
That's sort of how I feel. And that's great stuff there. And I trust your instincts and knowledge a ton in these spots. I just want his fingertips on every single thing. And I love how he developed the relationship with Elliott Wolf and didn't necessarily flex and let him continue to be that personnel guy, even though he had some of his own people that he brought in.
Yeah.
So I just like how he's handled a lot of things, and I like him. I think he is one of the most gifted leaders I've ever seen in any walk of life. And so to remove him in any capacity because it was his own fault, just as a fan, it's pretty frustrating. I find the affair, if I'm being honest, wildly entertaining.
Why?
Because it's
dipshits are out there on social media parroting. Or
no, I wasn't even trying to go there. No,
okay.
I wasn't trying to go there at all. No, more just because it's like a kind of a train wreck. Like, so for me, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, 6 years ago too. It almost makes me laugh just as a human being, because human beings are flawed, right? Any celebrity who's in the public eye who even consider, they were so messy, right? So they're just so messy. You're going to go to public places all day, year after year. So I guess to me, that if he was not the football coach of the New England Patriots, I wouldn't really. It would be even. I find the entertainment in it. My wife says to me, she's like, my wife and I have been together 22 years. She's always like, men cheat. Some people from different cultures and different backgrounds don't look at this as such a major thing, because so many people do it and you never find out about it. So anyway, I don't know. I don't take it that seriously in one realm. As a Patriots fan, though, it didn't piss me off as much 10 days ago as it does now.
Let me tell you. I'm going to give you some informed opinion here, okay? There's a sneaky way that the Patriots have been supporting Mike Vrabel that people who are just conspiracy theories or idiots would have no idea. You actually would have had to have been covering the team to sort of know this subtle nuance, okay? You notice that the two times Vrabel spoke, it was sudden, kind of almost out of the blue. And then he was going to supposedly speak after they made a first round pick. They moved that up to 7:25 before the night of the first round. Okay. So what that did was it kept the news people from getting into the room. And for those who don't remember, what do I mean by that? For those who remember the tough press conferences that Bill Belichick had to give over the years, right? Aaron Hernandez and others. The mistake they would make is they'd say, Bill Belichick is speaking at 11 o'clock. And and then, hey, let's get credentialed. And, the people who run newsrooms send their dogged reporter down there who doesn't need access and doesn't give a shit. So what they've done is they have eliminated, I think the guy died. His name was Byron Barnett, used to work on Channel 7. He was notorious for giving Belichick shit, like Steve Cooper now. All these people, like the news guys, the ones who would go to the press conference and press the politics and people like that. Well, New England, in doing Mike Vrabel's going to speak in 45 minutes, you can't get that guy down to Foxborough. So the only person is the sports director from that station, and they need access. So they're not going to press the issue. And if you notice, when Vrabel did that second press conference before the draft, there were 5 questions. You know who all five of them didn't come from the same person, but they all came from sports people, not the news people who would go down there to try to set the place ablaze. Yeah. So if for those who have a little bit of knowledge of how things work in Foxborough, they have actually been supporting Vrabel in a different way. And that is a unique one that if you've never covered the team, you would never really pick up on. Like, it's more people go, oh shit, Vrabel's speaking at 7:25. Let's make sure we roll on it, versus, God damn it, they did it to us again and we can't send our reporter down there in time.
Yes. And finally, before we touch a little bit on these draft picks, I will say my interest in this story is probably elementary, in the sense that prominent NFL reporter having affair with prominent NFL coach happens to be somewhat compelling for me. That's all. I'm not saying going down rabbit holes. I'm not having an opinion either way. It doesn't mean, right? I have all sorts of.
It's more the people that are just out there spewing the bullshit and stuff like that. Like, so, and here's another little twist on this too. I'm sure, I don't know if you saw this or not. The photos did not come from a private.
Yes, I did. Not a PI.
No, and there's a whole bunch of dipshits that are out there pushing that narrative. But what's interesting is those people might be liable to be sued. Michael McCann did a thing on Sports Illustrated on in Arizona, the law has reasonable expectation at a place like where they went to, that whatever Sedona resort.
Oh shit.
So the Arizona law might allow Diana Rossini to sue the shit out of these people for putting these photos out. And this is riveting as well. And if they're there at that resort, they probably got some funds in the bank to be taken from. That's really that. You know what? And when I talk about them being messy, right? I am not trying to, say anything good about what they did. But if you truly go to an exclusive place like that where the privacy is in the price, that's fascinating. That's a whole nother angle. Can I read you this quickly? This is from Mike McCann. Ambiente Sedona explicitly limits photography, quote, to times when other guests are not included, end quote.
Oh my God.
Hold on. And forbids, quote, taking photos in the public spaces that invades other guests' privacy. With those assurances, Ambiente Sedona guests should expect they aren't being surreptitiously photographed. In Arizona, it is a crime to knowingly photograph another person when that person has a reasonable expectation of privacy and the person is having, and they put in quotes, sexual contact or is without clothing. In several of the published photos, Vrabel and Rossini are in a hot tub or with their fingers interlaced. Even if those circumstances fall short of what's needed to show a criminal act, the photographs could still rise to civil claims.
With funds available from those civilians who have the coin to drop whatever $3,000 a night to stay in a place like that. Wow. So in terms of this draft, right, a lot of different ways and I will say, like, Vrabel did impact my enjoyment of this draft a little bit, but I'm sort of curious. We could go through all the picks, but there's a lot to be determined here. Curious what you sort of think of the top two selections, if you don't mind me sort of putting you on the spot a little bit. I know you were all over it. You expected them to take an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman. They did just that.
Yeah, the O-lineman Lomu being there was a little bit of a surprise. I was kind of with Elliot Wolf on the boy. I thought that guy was going to be gone. But here's kind of my, here's kind of my thought on it is, if I'm Mike Onwenu, I might not buy many green bananas. So Mike Onwenu has a cap number of $25 million this year. If you trade him or move on from him, you could save $17.5 million. And the only reason I bring that up, Jay, is because isn't there a corner who needs to get paid here pretty soon?
100 million%.
Exactly. So you got to start finding gobs of money to be able to move around. So even if Lomu doesn't start this year, say you get through one more year of Onwenu, and then you want to free up his capital by moving on after next season, it does make a lot of sense. The Yakas kid, Todd McShay, who I haven't talked to in a long time, but McShay loves the guy and thinks that he's going to be able to come in and play right away. Here's the thing that I really love about this draft class, Jay. If none of these dudes play, do you think they can still win 11 games with the way the roster is right now? Now, I know they're probably going to go get A.J. Brown. And it looks like Philly is kind of planning for that. So even if Lomu or Giannis is just a rotational guy, does Raritan, the tight end, need to get on the field right away? Probably not. What I love about this draft is there are dudes that are going to come in and contribute, and maybe you end up moving on from some guys and saving some money and shifting it elsewhere. But as you and I sit here right now, not one of those draft picks has to start the way the draft went the last 2 years. That shows shows how far they've come as a football team, that if these guys only start working their way in week 6, this team should still be okay.
And great stuff all around there. And the Patriots have done a good job in free agency ahead of this draft. Just to address the number 1 first-round pick there, Caleb Lomu. By the way, you see his signature? It's just Lomu. I mean, imagine that number on the back. That name on the back, Lomu on the jersey. I mean, what I love is definitely seems somewhat developmental, not unlike Bill Campbell over there on the left side, And I think seems like he's already married, which I love. Talk about high character. I mean, that doesn't necessarily say anything, but a country boy, I mean, whatever.
He's an island boy. He's Polynesian. Yeah, he was he was a finalist for the Polynesian Player of the Year. He lost it to his teammate Spencer Fano, who was on the other side of that O-line with him at Utah.
Wow, that's amazing. But I do love the fact that he is somewhat developmental. And I believe when the Patriots drafted Cole Strange in a similar spot, he was not the guy that they were like, oh, I can't believe he's here. It's more about who the fuck is that guy. So to me, I think, I really, really hope Lomu starts. That'd be the one maybe point of contention. I'd say number 1 overall pick, offensive lineman on a line that sucked last year in a lot of ways, especially down the stretch in the postseason. I hope he can slot right in, but I think he needs to grow.
Well, but that's the thing. I don't think he needs to, because then you'd be taking Morgan Moses off the field, or you're going to play Lomu at guard for a year and then kick on Onwenu, trade him or do something with him, and then you got to figure out, what you're going to do with Moses after this year. I think here's what I envision, Jay. Morgan Moses starts at right tackle for the first 6 games of the year. And then once Lomu kind of gets up to speed a little bit, maybe 3 hots and a cot, put 10 pounds on him, then maybe he starts to slide in there. But here's what I think his role will be right away to sort of get him involved. He's your 6th fat. So remember, they would go to the extra. So whenever they would go to the 6th lineman, he's the guy who's going to come in where it will be, okay, we're going to take some baby steps with you in terms of getting you out there full time. There is a role for him right now, but I kind of disagree. I don't think it'd be nice if he got in there, but I don't think he has to start right away. And if anything, you get him in week 6 or 7, or he's your swing tackle. Because here's the thing. What if Bill's foot isn't right or his knee isn't right and Campbell's got to miss a game or 2 or 3? Then maybe you consider putting Moses over there on the left side, or if Lomu's ready to go, throw his ass into the fire on the left side and see how he does.
Maybe it's a little bit of a novice in me saying that I want a first-round pick to start despite being in the back of the round. But, you traded up for a reason, prove me fucking wrong, Lomu. But I think it's going to be interesting, that Reggie Gilliam signing from Buffalo, the fullback. I mean, I feel like this Patriots team is going to get, back to their big bruising ways, run behind Mondre and just that's how you win football games in a tough conference. So I'm excited, though. I like what I'm seeing, and I love that they took the kid out of Boston College, the edge rusher. I think, in the 7th round, stranger things have happened, but I love how they draft guys that potentially can make impacts on special teams. They've done a great job of that overall as an organization for a long time.
Now, let me give you another quick prediction here, because I know we're heading into overtime and I don't want to go too far because we all got shit to do. Get ready to hear about other teams who won A.J. Brown, because right now Philadelphia has no leverage. They're trading with one team, and it feels like it's only New England. And my prediction is the 2027 second-round pick will be what is traded to Philadelphia. Now, maybe if they believed in Lomu or thought they had another answer, maybe they get creative and think about trading someone like Onwenu in a deal like that to be able to give a middle round pick. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I do believe that we're going to hear they're going to try to drum up some interest. Don't be spooked by it. I think the deal is set. I think it's done. I think Philadelphia knows what they're doing. I think New England knows how this would go down. The only question is, does someone come in and go over the top? Like, do the Rams say, oh, we'll give you a first? And then New England's got to kind of choose and blink a little bit.
I agree with all of that. One question I have for you on that. Because of the June 1st deadline, this particular draft that just passed was never a consideration in terms of the Eagles and Patriots doing business. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah. That's pretty easy to figure out that Philadelphia could not afford from a math standpoint to take a $40 million hit. For anybody who wants to follow the money stuff, go to a SPOTRAC, spottrack.com, and they have all this stuff broken down, and it's pretty easy.
He's
to
telling me
out.
that, really, Cody.
No.
Come on, man, that's obvious.
No, I'm not. No. I'm actually telling
on 2 hours sleep.
No, I'm actually telling other people who spew bullshit online that there's a website out there that can help them not sound like a fucking moron.
I love it. So the show today is brought to you by Low Score Golf.
Yes, it is.
Bone Marrow at the helm. And our last segment is also brought to you by Low Score Golf, or presented, I should say. So Gresh, before we make, and what we do here is we do a parlay, 3 picks, Cody, Gresh, myself. But before we do this, Gresh, can we talk just a little bit more about the Buffalo Sabres, who down here on Hard Rock Bet are minus 160? I know you guys have DraftKings at minus 170. I mess around. For those of you that don't know, I emotionally hedge all day. I don't bet on Boston teams. I bet against them. But Gresh, the Sabres are going to win this hockey game, aren't they? In
Correct.
The same way that the Lakers are going to win game 5.
Yeah, Sabres
so,
minus
Cody,
170 is in there.
Put Sabres, Lakers on the board. It's so square. But that's not my selection for today. I have a selection for today. But I just want to see this on paper. But Gresh, you like the Sabres?
Yeah, go Sabres, and I say go Red Sox Toronto over 7 today.
Red Sox Toronto over 7. And my selection today, the Yankees won, I believe, 8 in a row. They lost yesterday, but Max Fried, last time out, 8 shutout innings at Boston, looked great.
I'm going to pee my pants. Hold on.
Yeah, that's all right. Go do it. I'll close us out of here. But I like the Yankees minus 185. You can throw that leg in there as well. I love it. I probably didn't check the chat, but yeah, sometimes nature calls. But what do we got? That's should be pretty good odds there. Minus 148, minus 170. And that's 4-teamer. 3-team. Okay, go.
3-teamer, a little juicy. Sabres, Lakers, Yanks.
I like that.
I like that. A little bit of a hedge.
I don't like betting against Big Slim like my boy Kevin Durant. If he comes back, he always scares me. But
he scares his teammates too. If you see some of the rumors around that, a lot of the team is wondering like what his deal is. They're like, why isn't he playing? Which
Ime Udoka, man. Good things in Houston, but the Boston Celtics on a better track. Appreciate y'all being with us today on Gas Morning Drive. We'll see you next Monday, 9 a.m. For Andy Gresh, Bone Marrow in the back. My name is Jason Anik. Appreciate y'all. See you next week.